Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast, where we provide you with your weekly diagnosis of everything fantasy football. Whether it's season-long leagues, dynasty, DFS, or sometimes even IDP, we got you covered all year long. Let's do it. Let's get to it. Welcome into the Fantasy Football Diagnostics Podcast. And of course, I'm your host, John June. It is Monday evening, September 19th, 2022, about an hour before kickoff of the Buffalo Bills and the Tennessee Titans. And of course, got my guy, Greg Penniman, with me. Greg, what's good, man?
Come on, baby.
Greg, we can hear you.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
What's good? You thought we lost you for a minute?
I know. I was like, let's go. Come on. But yeah, I'm here. I
What's
mean,
good?
it's nothing much to talk about. Bad week, man. It was struggling week. I mean, I was just saying, on the surface, it felt like if you didn't have anyone from that Dolphins Ravens game, Aaron Jones and Garrett Wilson, it was rough out here in these streets. So, but you know, we got two good games tonight. Hopefully, I can redeem myself, get some Monday Night Miracles.
Look, man. I know I definitely need a Monday Night Miracle, and one of my league with my college buddies. I definitely need a Monday Night Miracle in that. I told you the situation, Greg. I'm down 72 points. It's a super flex league. He has Jalen Hurts left, and I've got Justin Jefferson, Josh Allen, Dalvin Cook, Dallas Goedert. So I'm hoping I can make up this deficit here, but we'll see. Definitely having those 31 points from Garrett Wilson on my bench, that definitely hurts. But if you're not into it, if you're not hip with what's going on the Fantasy Football Diagnostics podcast, then you wouldn't know that today is Monday and we do our weekly recap. So we're going to recap the week that was thus far. Obviously, we're not going to talk about Monday Night Football today, but definitely if you are listening for the first time or aren't, whatever is your gist here, just make sure you subscribe, make sure you comment, make sure you like, do all that good stuff. Helps the show out, helps us out. So we would definitely appreciate that. And then if you are a longtime listener and you open this up on your podcast, whether you're listening to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever you're listening or watching, because we are live now, Twitter,
Sure.
YouTube, Twitch. We can play Where's Greg, and today he's recording from his, we'll call it his usual spot, like this is home base.
Probably one up, or like of all the locations as far as one, like the most by like one.
By one. Okay, yeah. We gotta start
I like
tallying
to
this.
divvy it out. You know, I'm like Josh Allen. I like to give it to multiple receivers. Yeah.
I thought you were gonna go Patrick Mahomes with that
Oh yeah,
analogy
true,
there.
Patty. Yeah, true.
That
You're right.
is
You're right.
a sore subject in the fantasy world right now. But let's get into it. I mean, I was gonna say before that you would have realized if you have listened to this been listening to us, that we kind of switched up the show title. It's not the Studs and the Jags anymore. It's the Swags and the Jags. Swags and Jags. So let's get into these quarterback swags. And obviously, if you didn't know, a Jag is just a guy. And we'll get into that a little bit later because there was a few of them. And the number one quarterback on the week, the first quarterback swag, is Lamarvelous himself, Lamar Jackson. 21 of 29, 318 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. That's 2 weeks in a row. He's gone 3 passing touchdowns. Also added, though, which he didn't have last week, the 119 rushing yards and a touchdown. So 42.6 points in PPR scoring leagues. Greg, your thoughts on the performance here by Lamar?
Not surprised. I mean, contract year. I was hoping that they didn't get that done because he's on revenge tour. I mean, everyone's now saying pay this man. I mean, this man should have been paid a long time ago. The value he brings with his legs and his arm, and again, he just keeps getting better and better passing wise. And then one of those special 72-yard rushing plays when he's just gone, like a F1 Formula race car. It's over. There's nothing you can do about it. Just go home. I mean, can't believe they're going to get the dub. That's the crazy part.
Yeah, that game was absolutely wild. One of the craziest games of the weekend. He was yeah, Lamar was everything you would want him to be in this game. I mean, he was perfect. The Dolphins just made more plays near the end. So absurd game. But speaking of this game, the second quarterback on the week, I'm sure someone we're going to talk about a little bit later, Greg. But Tua Tagovailoa, 36 of 50, 469 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, uh, 1 rushing yard, 38.86 points. I mean, that's the beauty of Lamar, though. It's crazy, right? Like Tua could throw 6 touchdowns and Lamar still finishes as the QB1.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Tua coming in here. Greg, your thoughts on the performance here by Tua?
Yeah, the leader in passing yards for in the NFL right now. I mean, yeah, huge game for him. He's my breakout quarterback of the year, so definitely, this is definitely his coming out game of his entire career, best game of his career, most like box office putting up numbers game. So it's good for him, and Waddle and Tyreek Hill got everyone involved. Kaseki, yeah, he has a lot of weapons now.
Yeah, I mean, this was definitely Tua's, coming out party. I mean, before I think it was the Chiefs game that everybody used to point to, and he had a phenomenal like first half as a rookie. But this game, I mean, it had everything. You had to come back from, I think they were down 21 points,
Yeah,
if I'm
it
not
was insane.
mistaken.
Yeah,
And to have the big yardage total with the big touchdown total, this wasn't like, oh, Tua is along for the ride. Like, no, Tua was driving a bus, right? Like,
yeah, yeah.
so definitely like to see that. I mean, 50 pass attempts, that's not going to happen every week. The negative game script definitely had a lot to do with that, but he's definitely, I mean, I had been down on Tua definitely at times, throughout his young career. But this was a game that makes you think that, he has this kind of upside. Like, I'm curious to see what this Bills Chiefs or this, sorry, Bills Chiefs. I'm curious to see what this Bills Dolphins game looks like whenever it happens. I'm not even sure, but I'm curious to see how that plays out. Um, Speaking of coming back, the QB3 on the week, Carson Wentz. And I say coming back because he finished 30 of 46, 337 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 2 rushing yards for 23, two attempts for 23 rushing yards, 27.78 fantasy points. And I say come back because not only did he attempt to come back in the game, but he attempted to come back in his fantasy production as well. Because I was looking,
Yeah.
I was
Whew,
at one
it was
point my
rough.
man had like 3 points, and it was, I don't know, the third quarter or it was the fourth quarter. I don't know what it was, but then you just blink and he finishes the QB3 thus far. I mean, there's still, Josh Allen hasn't played yet, Jalen Hurts hasn't played yet, Kirk Cousins hasn't played yet. So there's still an opportunity here for Carson Wentz and the rest of these guys to get bumped down. But overall, you didn't lose your matchup because of Carson Wentz this week. So, Greg, I know he was your stream of the week, and that's definitely a great play by you there, sir.
Yeah, no, it wasn't looking good. That was one of those performances you shouldn't have watched the game, but he got the fantasy points in the end. Comeback mode really forced him to put up some numbers, so that was good by them. And congrats on Detroit getting that win though too for sure. But yeah, it was a good performance. I think a guy, especially, I mean, I know in our predicament, we did it because we thought we had a better matchup than Trey Lance, and Trey Lance just ended in the season in the second drive. So now we're forced to keep him for the rest of the season. It seems like.
Yeah, Trey Lance suffering a fractured ankle, which that's obviously terrible news there. And, you know, that's my breakout quarterback and somebody that it's rough because like we didn't even through 2 weeks, like didn't even like we had the rain game last week, and then this week it was
Yeah,
supposed to be a lot of rain, and we're like,
didn't
hey,
see anything
don't
from him.
play him. There's some guys with some better matchups, things like that. So it's like you don't even get to see what Trey Lance really was,
Yep.
and so Jimmy G is gonna come in and um basically do what he did last year, which is lead this Niners team, to a playoff run.
Yeah.
So um interesting thing that came up was I was gonna text you about like, oh man, see, we should have kept Carson Wentz, we should have kept Trey Lance. But then I remembered my own advice last Monday, which was it's still like let the game play out with these quarterbacks because you don't know how it's gonna end.
Yeah,
So,
crazy.
and then the Trey Lance thing happened. So
Yeah.
definitely unfortunate. But rounding out this top 12 here, Greg, Joe Flacco, QB4, Jared
Oof,
Goff, the QB5, Kyler
oof.
Murray, what a QB6,
Oh,
just
oh, what
finished QB6. Like that
that game was crazy too.
was wild. Justin Herbert who played on Thursday, this QB7, Derek Carr 8. That was my start of the week. Matthew Stafford 9, Trevor Lawrence 10, Patrick Mahomes 11, and then Jimmy Garoppolo mustering up a quarterback one finish. Granted, again, these guys haven't played. Your thoughts here on the top 12 and any honorable mentions that you want to throw out there, Greg?
I mean, it was kind of weak this week for sure. I mean, besides like the top two getting 40 and 40, and then once getting that QB3, that was good. Like Herbert getting there with fractured ribs, so that was nice. And then yeah, Jimmy G is pretty impressive for him to just come right in and fall into a QB1 performance. He's there once again. The Superman, Clark Kent to the rescue.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Clark Kent. Yeah, it's definitely coming to the rescue there. Guys that stick out. Jared Goff doing it in a win. Like, I mean, granted, the
That is
matchup
nice.
was good, but just to see him do it in a win and like the large point total, 4 passing touchdowns. Obviously, we'll talk about somebody a little bit later as well, but um, you know, I think that's really
Yeah,
it that sticks out. Kyler Murray scares me, man. He really does.
yeah. Yeah, he should be for where you drafted him for where we kind of predicted him. He should be falling into more safer QB1 performances. Like if he didn't get that last drive, the crazy 2-point conversion, then the other one as well. Yeah, it would have been the catch to AJ Green, which wasn't a catch, and yeah, that was so it was it was a lot of plays that could have swung his way and made it a single digit day.
Yeah, I mean, like I was low on Kyler Murray coming in the year than consensus. Like I think I had him as my QB8 coming into the season. And in one of my leagues, it's an auction league, and I like to play, price police. So I ended up with Kyler Murray, and through 2 weeks, I've been underwhelmed with like his
Yeah,
performances. He gets the Chiefs the week one and a high total, and but and then this week he ends up in a game against the Raiders, what's another high total. But again, like you said, all the things he needed to do just to muster up this performance was like you can't rely on that week to
no,
week.
no,
It's not sustainable, and there's also like you know. He he doesn't want to get hurt, or like do they not want him to get hurt? Like, is that something that's coming in? That's obviously something that we always have to consider as fantasy managers. Like Kyler Murray has that injury history, so like I don't know. Maybe I might use this game and try to like flip Kyler Murray for something, and I don't know. If a one quarterback league, if you can flip Kyler Murray and upgrade at other spots, and then maybe you pick up a two off waivers or something like that and stream the position. Like it's just a thought
yeah,
based on where his value is. But he could also all of this could change when DeAndre Hopkins gets back. Like this,
yeah, yeah. So I don't know.
I don't know. But let's talk about some Jags because there's a few of them. Starting my quarterback start of the week, Matt Ryan. That was that. I mean, when Michael Pittman or my quarterback stream of the week, when Michael Pittman went out like an hour after we we finished recording, like that was terrible. I
Terrible.
don't like Matt Ryan was not going to have the best day. But some higher profile guys that you were probably banking on, Tom Brady, who I
Oh,
know
we knew that.
we said not to play him, but
Yeah.
somebody out there was like, but it's Tom Brady, right?
He got the win though. He got his first win against the Saints.
No,
We got on the Tampa.
well, I don't. I think you picked the Saints, but I picked Tampa Bay. I thought they would win. I wasn't. It was a 3-3 game going into the fourth, so like
So bad.
that part I knew, but yeah, this it was bad, and it seems like it. I mean, I don't know. It could get worse. But anyway, Russell Wilson is
Nah,
another.
that's concerning. That's concerning. Yeah. You got Seattle and then Houston. Like those are two layups that should be like not impressive defense at all. I mean, we favored in both. It's a home matchup. I mean, Judy went out early in the game, but I still think you can muster up more than 12.6 points, 12.06 points.
Yeah, it's been bad. I mean, and you know, you know what this is going to lead to in another league, Greg. So,
Captain Kirk time every time, yo. Fire up the captain.
so just for people that don't know, Greg and I we co-manage quite a few leagues, but we co-manage this one league where we drafted Russell Wilson and Kirk Cousins, and I've been on the Russell Wilson bandwagon. I pretty much felt like me and Greg been up there as the lead drummers, and but I've also been the leader of the Kirk Cousins
You have,
bandwagon.
yeah, for sure, for sure. You're right, and you're the co-captain for sure.
The co-captain, the Captain Kirk,
The
absolutely, I'll
Captain
take it.
Kirk, yeah.
Um, and we also have Justin Jefferson on that team, so it's like, hey, there's this incentive here to stack Kirk Cousins with Justin Jefferson, but we haven't done that these last 2 weeks, but we're gonna do it in week 3. I have a strong feeling that it'll be done in week 3. All right, let's move on to the running back swags and the number one running back on the week who happens to be on that team that we were just
That's why
discussing.
we're 2-0. I mean, we've been able to, take some hits
Yes,
because we got studs like
definitely.
this.
Justin Jefferson, 17 carries, 80. It's Justin Jefferson. Wow, Justin Jefferson on the brain. Man's on the wall. He's on my
Crazy.
brain. That's crazy. Nick Chubb, 17 carries, 87 rushing yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. 3 targets, 3 receptions, 26 receiving yards, 32.3 PPR points. I had never been so happy to watch a running back score against the Jets. Not because he was on our fantasy team, because of what it led to on that 3rd touchdown. But Greg, your thoughts on the performance here by Nick Chubb?
Yeah, Nick Chubb balling. I mean, yeah, the 3rd touchdown was nice. The 3rd touchdown probably led to the comeback too. But yeah, it was definitely a great performance by Nick Chubb, one of the best pure rushers in the league. Yeah, you love to see one of these performances from him.
Yeah, I mean, this was I pretty much chalked watching the Browns game as a win in my mind. Like, not a win because we were going to win the game or anything. Like, chalked it up as a win for me to watch a football game like this on Sunday, because I got to watch the Jets, who obviously you guys know, my favorite team, and then I get to watch Nick Chubb, who's one of my favorite football players in
Yeah,
the NFL. So, like you said, one of the best pure rushers in the league. He's the way he runs is just, it's so fun because he runs
yeah,
with power, but he also runs with a little bit of finesse, and he's got this speed once he gets to the open field, and it's awesome to watch, on a down and down basis. And the 3 touchdowns was huge. Um, the RB2 on the week though, comeback season, Aaron Jones, 15 carries, 132 rushing yards, a touchdown, added 3 catches, 3 targets, 38 receiving yards, and another touchdown. I was going against Aaron Jones. I mean, I
mm,
also had Aaron Jones. This is what happens when you're like a million leagues, right? You
yeah.
have a player, you're also going against that player. Going against Aaron Jones in one of my leagues, and it just seemed like the Bears could never stop him. Like, every
No,
time he
no.
got the ball, they could not stop him, like, at all.
Yeah, it seemed like he was averaging like 10 yards a carry because he was just getting a first down every time he touched the ball. Yeah, it was a great solution to last week. I think the game plan, not trust the receivers. Let's get it to Aaron Jones. Let's trust the run game and Sammy Watkins. And yeah, and Allen's are still a little banged up, so definitely rely on these running backs.
Yeah, definitely. The RB3 on the week, I think I took one on the chin here for sure. Tony Pollard, nine nine carries, 43 yards, and a touchdown. Added 4 receptions on 7 targets and 55 receiving yards. That was 19.8 PPR points there. Greg, your thoughts on the performance here by Tony Pollard?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it seems like slowly but surely it's just a turn of changing of the guard. I mean, he's turning into the RB1 for Dallas over Zeke. He looks more productive. I mean, Zeke did look pretty solid in the first game, but I think the PPR value Pollard is the guy you kind of want. He's, I think, the better receiving running back right now, and especially if they're in the competitive games and 2-minute drills and stuff like that, Pollard's going to get his opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I still think obviously like Zeke is still like the RB1 in terms of like the touches and the opportunities. I think that what happens though is Zeke, especially in this non-Dak Prescott led offense, like it becomes very predictable, like what you're trying to do with Zeke, right?
Mm,
Like you don't want to throw, you're not lining up Zeke back there to throw the ball
no,
30 plus times. You're lining up there to run the football. So they're gonna force you to try to, they're gonna try to stack the box and force you to pass on the outside. And, you know, sometimes it helps to get a player like Tony Pollard out there who can do multiple things and is more versatile player in terms of what he's able to do in space. And so um it's going to be rough for Zeke, during this time when Dak Prescott's out. And it's definitely something to monitor as the year goes. I mean, there's nothing you could do about it. Really isn't,
yeah,
right? Like if you sell Zeke, you're selling low.
yeah,
And so all you can do is just hope that Dak comes back sooner than later. Because when Dak was back week one, like it was clear, like Zeke was still Zeke. Like
yeah.
he averaged over 5 yards a carry against a good Tampa Bay rush defense. But Dallas just didn't. They got game scripted out. So we're talking about running back, or we're talking about running back, about Tony Pollard, but we feel like we just ended up talking about Zeke. But let's finish talking about these running back swags. And rounding out this top 12 here, we got Austin Eckler at 4, Christian McCaffrey 5, Damian Harris tying with 6 for with DeAndre Swift, and James Robinson coming in at 8th. Clyde Edwards-Helaire also tying with James Robinson at 8. And then you had David Montgomery 10, Darrell Williams 11, and then Najee Harris coming in at the RB 12. That one, I'm going to hit that. I'm taking a hit on the chin for that one too. Greg, your thoughts on any top 12 performances here?
Like to see James Robinson continue to be a consistent, a great value where he was drafted, especially for ADP and guys taking Travis Etienne. Definitely swinging the air right now. And David Montgomery, good performance to get in the RB1. Good bounce back week. Yeah, so it was good performances from them.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely great performances by DeAndre Swift. That's the one for me. 5 catches,
Oh yeah,
56 or five rush attempts for 56 receiving or 56 rushing yards, 2 receptions on 5 targets for 31 yards of receiving touchdown. That receiving touchdown was everything too. Like
yeah,
my man is
yeah,
on the floor, gets up, jukes this crap out of this one dude, hits the immediately runs to the other corner of the sideline. Um, it was just he's special, man. It really
he is,
he's so fun to watch. Like that
he
running
is.
back class between him and JT, and I'm definitely missing someone, Clyde, but he's Clyde. James Robinson was in that class. Like it was, I think Antonio Gibson was in that class. Very good running back class.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Greg, not you, Greg. Sorry, Greg Shermankin. Sorry, Greg, if I butchered your name. Blockbuster trade offer. Don't know what to do. Kamara, A-Rob, and Elijah Moore, or Mike Evans, Kittle, and ETN. I feel like I want the Kamara, A-Rob, Elijah Moore side.
Yeah, both have their flaws, but yeah, I think I'm with you on that. I think Kittle is just going to be banged up all year. ETN might not even be the best running back on his team, and Mike Evans got suspended for a game, but yeah, he's probably the highest upside on that team. Kamara, A-Rob, and Elijah Moore, I think is a better combo of the 3.
Yeah, I mean Kamara is probably of all of these, he's like the most sure thing, right? Like,
Yeah,
granted, they're all healthy. Like, and a lot of times when we do this, we have to ask ourselves who's the best player in the deal. And typically, you want the best player in the deal, and I want Kamara.
yeah,
Um, And then A-Rob and Mike Evans, they have similar range of outcomes, right? Like Mike Evans is Chris Godwin. Once he gets back healthy, he's going to have a role. Julio Jones, once he gets back healthy, he'll have a role as well. Kittle is damaged goods right now. Like
He
he's not
is. He
like
really
we
is.
haven't even seen him play.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and then ETN, like you said, like he's not even the RB1 on his team. So um yeah, I mean, you take the downgraded receiver, but I don't know what side you're on, whether you have Kittle or whether you don't have Kittle, but you got to. I'm sure if you have Kittle, then you have a tight end, and if you don't have Kittle, then you probably are. Or if you have, I mean, I say you have Kittle, you don't. You have a tight end because you probably have been streaming a tight end for the last 2 weeks because you didn't have
Yeah.
Kittle, and if you don't have Kittle, like the deal that doesn't have Kittle, then you probably have either been streaming the position or have somebody in that position already that you drafted. So just depending on who you have to play that role. But let's move on through the rest of the show here. Greg, any other running backs that maybe like honorable mentions here that you want to bring up?
Brees Hall, I think showed a nice performance here. RB14, so that's good. And Jeff Wilson Jr., RB15. I think his value, you mentioned last week, if it was Jimmy G in the offense, it'd probably be a little better for Jeff Wilson. And now Jimmy G's in the offense, so that kind of helps his value a little bit more rest of the season or while Eli Mitchell's out. Those two were good. Both Jets running back have, I think, this year started off pretty solid.
Yeah, Brees he's close, man. He really
Yeah.
is. He's been close to breaking some runs a few times, even especially in this game. And he was been involved in the pass game the last couple of weeks as well. I only had one target this week, but yeah. So, all right, let's move on to the running back Jags, and there's some important guys on this list with some high draft capital. One of them being Jonathan Taylor. Greg, I know you have Jonathan Taylor in our League of Extraordinary People. So, as a Jonathan Taylor manager in one of your most important leagues, how did it make you feel?
I mean, it happens. It definitely happens. No one's gonna go for 25 plus every week. I think just in general the offense was pitiful. I mean, they got a dud. They got shut out by the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's you can't really get any lower than that. So um, I'm not panicking on JT. He balled in week 1. Had a down week in week 2. So I think he's definitely fit to bounce back in week 3. I think the formula should be to kind of establish him early. Hopefully Matt Ryan can also bounce back as well.
Definitely. Javonte Williams, Josh Jacobs, my start of the week. A rough week for me for starts of the week. Oh, man. Travis Etienne and A.J. Dillon. Let's move on to wide receiver Swags. And I want to, on Wednesday, talking to the listeners here, I want us to be able to have an opportunity to go through some players who are underperforming and whether we need to hit the panic button or not. So we'll get into it on Wednesday, when we talk about Thursday Night Football, because frankly, that episode could honestly be 15 minutes because we're talking about the Browns and the Steelers. So
yeah. Nick Chubb done. I did it for you right there. Nick Chubb preview done.
Thursday night preview done. Under I don't know. Steelers.
Yeah, tie.
All right, let's move on to the wide receiver Swags. The number one wide receiver on the week, man, Tyreek Hill. Switch quarterbacks, new quarterback, no new problems. 11 targets, 11 receptions on 13 targets, 190 receiving yards, 2 touchdown receptions there, 42 PPR points. Greg, thoughts?
Oh yeah, Tyreek Hill, his upside clearly hasn't changed. He could be a guy that can put up 40 to 50 points in a week. That's why you drafted him Yeah, early, like a first round talent, second round. So yeah, it's just hopefully he was on your team and you weren't going against him like I was.
Yeah, I mean, Tyreek Hill balled out, and
Yeah, man.
if you did go against him, I hope you had this next guy
Oh
on
yeah,
your list,
Waddle.
a
Yeah,
teammate,
word.
Jalen
Yes,
Waddle,
sir.
who
Yes,
had
sir.
19 targets for 11
Oh
receptions,
man,
171 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns, 40.1 PPR points. Imagine if you had Tua, Tyreek, and Waddle. It's pretty crazy. Greg, your thoughts on the performance by Waddle?
love to see his upside go up to this. I think his floor is one of the safest floors in fantasy, but if he can get to up to this, yeah, that this is wide receiver one status right here for sure. Love to see that both these guys are eating in the same offense together. Rest of the season, you love both of these guys. The price is definitely just going up for Waddle. I mean, it'd be too hard to trade for him now at this point. Um, or don't even try to sell. Like he's a guy that's gonna take you to the promised land.
And I really got to come up. We got to come up with some kind of punishment or something because this is
Oh
bad.
yeah, for sure, for
Um,
sure.
um, yeah, you can't sell. There's no way you can buy Jalen Waddle right now. Like you
Nah,
couldn't
yeah,
afford it.
yeah,
There's no way. I'm
yeah, word.
speaking from
Nah.
being somebody that manages, has a few teams with Jalen Waddle on them, and you can get them from me. No way, no
Yeah.
how. Um. Anyway, moving on to the wide receiver 3 on the week, and that would
Yes.
be Amon-Ra St. Brown. Another start of the week here for our guy Craig
Oh,
Penn.
oh,
Amon-Ra St. Brown, nine receptions on 12 targets, 116 receiving yards, 2 touchdown receptions, added 2 rush attempts for 68 rushing yards. My man was just all impacting the game. I mean, Swift, Hawkinson, both on the field, doesn't matter. My
doesn't matter.
St. Brown is a dog. If you listen, first off, if you listen when Greg was talking about starts of the week, you would have known to start him. But if you listen to Dynasty Preview last year, we talked about wide receivers. I was talking about my man because he's a dog. Like I don't care how 6 foot, whatever, don't care. My man catches 202 balls a day. He's a
Mm.
dog. Greg, your thoughts?
Wide receiver one season, man. Just keep playing him as a wide receiver one. In redraft, he's a wide receiver one. Before the draft, wide receiver one, man. This is a guy in bad situation, good situation, doesn't matter. He's matchup proof at this point. I love it. Mama St. Brown is just he's out here. He's really out here doing what he's got to do. Got that record too. So yeah, Mama St. Brown, man. He's putting up a legendary season so far.
Yeah, my man is balling. My man is balling. Um, Rounding out the top 12 of wide receivers, wide receiver 4, Cooper Cup, wide receiver 5, Garrett Wilson, 6, Christian Kirk, 7, Mike Williams, 8, Amari Cooper, 9, Drake London, 10, Nelson Aguilar, 11, Curtis Samuel, and 12, Rashad Bateman. Greg, your thoughts on these performances here?
Definitely like some of these names. Mark Cooper being able to get in there is pretty impressive. Christian Kirk, Garrett Wilson, and Curtis Samuel. Definitely Curtis Samuel, especially a guy. We talked about him on the waiver wire, the top wide receiver ad, I think. And if you got it, added him, started him in a couple weeks, like I also did, paid off. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this list, I mean, there's a few
No,
guys that
no, no.
definitely stick
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
but you know that there's one that really
Oh
makes my
yeah.
heart throb. That's my guy, Garrett Wilson, man. I mean, and this goes beyond like being a Jets fan. I've been talking about Garrett Wilson since because the Jets obviously they were looking for quarterbacks. So I was watching a ton of Justin Fields, who I absolutely loved. I'll be completely honest. I love Justin Fields. But I kept seeing this, who's this number 5 guy, Garrett Wilson? And it's like, and I say this, I said this before. I think I've said it on this show. I know I've said it on, when we did the Jets podcast, I said it on that show as well. And I said it to a few other people. The way he moves, his body control, his ability to make people miss after the catch reminds me of Justin Jefferson. I'm not saying he is Justin Jefferson, but he like some of the things he does on a football field. When I watch it, if he didn't have a jersey on, I might ask, is that Justin Jefferson? And so, what week was it? Week 2 last year? Week 3 when Justin Jefferson did what he, or 2 years ago when he did what he did?
Yeah.
So, Garrett Wilson coming out 14 targets in week 2, led the team 31% target share as a rookie in his second NFL game. Targets are earned. This has got, I mean, he's got to be a guy we're going to talk about.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then, another rookie, Drake London. I mean, I was like, all week I was going back and forth. Do we play him? Do we not play him? Do we play him? Do we not play him? But ultimately we landed on we play him. And I'm glad we did. 12 targets. I mean, Greg, we talked about it. Who plays wide receiver for Atlanta? Russell Gage, right? Like not Russell Gage, obviously, but
Drake London, yes, sir.
Drake London. There's nobody else there. It's him and then Kyle Pitts, who they won't even throw the ball to. We'll talk about that later. But Drake London. So, yeah. What about some Jags here, Greg? What do you got?
Definitely Jamar Chase. I mean, probably the entire Bengals team for getting that L. But yeah, Jamar Chase, Mike Evans, getting himself ejected.
Number 1 wide receiver Jag on the week.
Ooh. Nope. What is it?
Devontae Adams.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If he didn't get he got a touchdown, 2 catches. Yeah, he should have had
2 catches on 7 targets for 12 receiving yards and a touchdown. 18% target share.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lowest in the game in a very long time since being in
someone maybe yelled at Derek Carr for only throwing to Devontae Adams week 1. So
I don't know. Maybe somebody should yell at him this week for tell him to throw it to him. I don't know. Yeah, Zay Jones, that was another guy I know I was pushing really hard. Didn't come through. It was not a good week for me.
Terry McLaurin had a
it was like okay. I mean, I wanted to put him down, but then when you saw the stat line, it was like 5 for 75 or something like that on like 8 targets.
Yeah,
it's like,
I guess relative to his other 2 receivers, he finished third in the pecking order.
Yeah. Hey, buy low on Terry McLaurin.
Here for it.
Moving on to the tight end swags of the week, man, and the number 1 tight end on the week, Mark Andrews, 9 catches, 11 targets, 104 receiving yards, and a touchdown. Added 3 rushing yards also on an attempt. 25.7 PPR points, well ahead the tight end 1. Greg, your thoughts here?
Like to see a name, I mean, other than Travis Kelce, but also still a familiar name up here. Mark Andrews for sure. Always talking about a guy that was a threat to be the tight end 1 against Travis Kelce. So it's good to see him here.
Yeah, definitely good news to see him here. Moving on to the tight end 2 on the week, Darren Waller, 6 catches, 8 targets, 50 receiving yards, and a touchdown, 17 PPR points there. Greg, your thoughts on the performance by Darren Waller?
Like Darren Waller for sure. Another big time name. Definitely like to see these big time names come up in the tight end studs or swags. So yeah, Darren Waller killing. Feels like he's a wide receiver moving out there. So he subbed in for Devontae. It seems like.
Oh, it's gonna be a fun year. Tight end 3 on the week, coming out of that crazy game between the Raiders and the Cardinals. Zach Ertz, 8 catches, 11 targets, 75 receiving yards, 15.5 PPR points there. Greg, your thoughts on the performance by Zach Ertz?
Like Zach Ertz, he's having a great start to the season. I think he had a pretty solid when after he got the trade last year with Arizona. Guy that had a high target share, continuing to see a lot of targets. So yeah, I think he's a tight end you be good to buy for sure for the rest of the season. if you're having some tight end struggles and stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe somebody picked him up as their second tight end or something, and it's tricky because at that point, people like, I don't know. Yeah, you could try it for sure, but somebody's who has two tight ends is gonna be like asking for heaven and earth for you to have their second tight
True. It's true.
end. We all have those managers in that league.
Yeah.
We drafted
Yeah.
3 quarterbacks, and they're like, "No,
Oh,
you
I'm gonna trade one. Yeah.
I'm gonna trade one. You have to give me like your RB2 and a wide receiver for my quarterback too." And I was like, "No, it's not gonna work." And like, "Well, I'll just hold him," and then they just end up holding a quarterback for
Yeah.
2 quarterbacks for the whole season. So it happens in every league. Honorable mention at tight end position. Rounding out the top 12, actually. Mike Gesicki, tight end 4. Tyler Higbee, the tight end
Mm-hmm.
5. Your start of the week there, Greg. So that's good stuff. Gerald Everett. Oh, sorry. Higbee and Gesicki tied for 4. Gerald Everett comes
Okay.
in at
Okay.
6.
Mm-hmm.
Logan Thomas came in at 7. Pat Fryermuth, that's another week for him, coming in at 8. Evan Ingram, 9. Ross Dwelly, 10. Is this touchdown? Yeah, touchdown or not territory. Oh no, Travis Kelce did not catch touchdown, but he was 5 for 51, and neither Tyler Conklin, but he finishes as the tight end 12. That's 2 weeks in a row for him in the top 12. Greg, your thoughts on the performances here by the tight ends?
Something like Pat Farmer again in this pitiful offense, getting top tight end 1 performance, staying relevant in here, so that's good to see. Yeah, Tyler Higbee, Jared Everett, the guys we mentioned earlier in the week, we like them, and Tyler Conklin getting some targets over there, so I see him over there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And Logan Thomas, that was a guy I know that I had brought up because that was a move I made. I Hunter Henry, sorry, you got the snip, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
He had to go. You wasn't cutting it, so you got cut. So Logan Thomas, solid day for him. Three catches, 37 yards, and a touchdown on 5 targets. So good stuff there from a tight end. Honorable mention. We usually don't do this, but I'll throw one out. Juwan Johnson. I know we talked about him last week from the Saints. Had 7
We did.
targets, 40 receiving yards. If you need a tight end, I think I'm going with him. I think
Yeah.
we did the Taysom Hill thing. That was fine. It was cool. We got 1 point, but I think Juwan Johnson is probably where I'm gonna lean like in the future if I'm really desperate for a tight end. It's either him or
Yeah.
like guys like Conklin and
Or Hayden
Evan
Hurst.
Ingram or
Yeah.
Hayden Hurst, Logan Thomas.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some Jags. Speaking of Jags, speaking of Hayden Hurst, coming in as a Jag this week. I think Greg, that was your stream of the week or
No, it was I think Jared Everett was my stream.
yeah, Gerald Everett was your stream. Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
You hit your stream and you
Out here.
should be the new tight end expert out here. Or you are the tight end expert, the tight end whisperer, as we always used to call you. But yeah, and then Travis Kelce. So,
Kyle
yeah,
Pitts.
I mean, you said what?
Kyle Pitts.
Oh, Kyle Pitts. Sorry, how could
Yeah.
I
I
forget?
mean, we knew it was going to be a bad performance. I mean, tough matchup, but I mean, we're still drafting him before a lot of guys, a lot of players, not just tight ends. So he needs to start putting up some numbers, man. He's supposed to be a transcendent player.
He got more numbers than George Kittle.
He does. He does.
No, Kyle Pitts. I mean, he's got to get involved, right? Like, I think they asked Arthur Smith, the head coach, like, why is he not getting the targets? And he's like, "Oh, this isn't fantasy football. We want to win the game." And it's like, well, you lost, so why
Yeah.
don't you try something different?
I mean, you still drafted him in real football to
Yeah,
perform in real
you
football.
used a top 4 pick,
Yeah,
right?
a
The
top
4th
4. Yeah.
overall pick on a tight end.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you use him?
Yeah.
And I was watching Connor Rogers today talk with Matthew Berry, and it was like the point that he made was like, this isn't like a question of like, oh, can he do it? Can he not do it? Like, we watched him do it last year.
Yeah.
We watched the guy in the NFL put up 1,000 yards last year. So just, I don't know, try that. But I'm not, Greg, you know me, I'm not gonna react to this because 2 weeks in a row, I said I was expecting a down week from Kyle Pitts.
Yeah,
Like 2 weeks in a row. So,
that's true.
and I sat here on Saturday morning when we talked about that game, and I said, he's gonna have a bad game. You still have to play him because he's Kyle Pitts, but we're gonna buy low. We're gonna buy low next week. So reach out to the Kyle Pitts manager in your league and see what's up.
Yeah, you have to. You have to see what's up.
Just see what's up,
Yeah.
right? Like, I know it's gonna sound crazy, and Greg, you might not even agree with what I'm gonna say, but like, if I could convince the Kyle Pitts manager to take Zach Ertz and give me Kyle Pitts, like I would do it. Like I would do it.
I think yeah, that'll be an instant deal. The guy would probably hit that accept button right away. Yeah. If
If
he's like
you,
if he's tilting hard, yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. If he or she is tilting and just like, I can't do this anymore. I need more than these 3 points. Like, give me Zach Ertz. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, let's get into the news and the injuries. I mean, we've got the ticker rolling at the bottom. So if you've been tuned in with us, then you've been seeing this. But Dallas tight end Dalton Schultz, he's dealing with a multi-week knee injury, injury to his PCL. Denver wide receiver Jerry Jeudy left Sunday's game with what was initially perceived to be a shoulder injury, but then was later confirmed as a rib injury. His x-rays there were negative. Arizona running back James Conner left Sunday's game with an ankle injury. Seems that that's not going to be long-term or something serious, though. The serious ankle injury is Trey Lance, who is out for the season with what's a fractured ankle. Yeah, that was a gruesome, ugly injury. If you saw it, Mike Evans, wide receiver for the Bucks, he's been suspended 1 game for basically fighting on the field in a fight that Tom Brady started. Tom Brady looked like the mafia boss, where he like literally ordered the hit, but didn't move, like didn't have to did like the whole fight's going on, and Brady's just walking in the background, just like he's like not getting in the fight. He's not touching nobody, but he's also not pulling anybody away from anybody. Yeah.
He'll pay off those game checks, whoever got suspended. Yeah, he'll pay those off. He got him. He got him.
And there's some breaking news that broke during the show live. San Fran running back Tyrion Davis Price is out 4 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. So um, looks like it's just Jeff Wilson and
I
Jordan
need that
Mason.
Dearness Johnson trade. Trade for Dearness Johnson, 49ers. You need to do that.
Yeah, so definitely something there to take note of in the San Fran backfield. But Greg, how does this impact the waivers? And I guess what are we looking at quarterback this week?
Quarterback, only a couple names. I think one, Jimmy Garoppolo, him finishing in that QB1 performance, coming right in, definitely is impressive. Got 13 for 21. He's going to continue to get a high completion percentage. The yards might not be there, but he's going to have good matchups where he's going to be put in situations to get touchdowns, touchdown passes. So I think right away, if you're the Trey Lance manager, definitely start looking to see what Jimmy Garoppolo can give you. And then other than that, Jared Goff, I mean, he has 6 touchdown passes in 2 games and 1 interception. So that's pretty good, his touchdown to interception ratio. I got him a matchup against Minnesota next week. Not a terrible matchup. Minnesota's defense is getting better, but I think with the people we talk about Swift, Hawk, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, these guys, if they're doing well, then Jared Goff is definitely doing some well in his part, getting more attempts up. 34 attempts last week, getting around like 35 attempts a game. So, yeah, I do like Jared Goff and Jimmy G. Probably for next week, I think Jared Goff has some more upside than Jimmy Garoppolo, honestly.
Yeah, I definitely like both those quarterback options. What are you looking at in terms of running back, though? Any injuries or guys that are out there that seem valuable?
So definitely for the James Conner news, Darrell Williams, and Eno Benjamin, depending on how that goes with James Conner, his status, Darrell Williams is 4% rostered. Eno Benjamin is 11% rostered. Darrell Williams did get more of the work after I think the injury. He got 8 carries, had 3 targets as well, so 11 total touches in that game. So I think to start the next game, he'll be probably the pseudo starter. He'll start the game. So if you're looking for some depth or a replacement for James Conner, Darrell Williams will probably be the option. Mark Ingram, depending on how Kamara's news goes with his ribs, he did get 10 carries. But as far as he's 30% rostered. But as far as people that produce, I mean, J.D. McKissic is always there. If you're looking for some depth, he's 24% rostered. He's still a guy, especially in PPR leagues, that's has a safe floor. I think won't kill you in a lot of matchups. And then Jerick McKinnon and Raheem Mostert, both were involved. Especially because Chase Edmonds, a guy we talked about, wasn't a Jag. He was a jagger for the running backs because Morstead had some opportunities and did the most with them. He's 43% rostered. Jerick McKinnon is 6% rostered, and he's basically we talked about from the Thursday night takeaways in a split with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Seems like Clyde probably still has the more upside with touchdowns and stuff, but that could swing at any game. And I think it'd be good, especially if you're the Clyde manager, to have Jerick McKinnon as well. And he's free pretty much right now.
Yeah, definitely agree with those. I mean, I kind of wish that I took the shot. I mean, Jeff Wilson wasn't available in any of my leagues, so I couldn't have taken the shot, but I did not even take the shot on Jeff Wilson because I was just like, oh man, like I'm gonna have to deal with this Trey Lance led offense, and he's gonna get like 50% or like like 80% of what's 50%, and then Shanahan's always weird with running backs, and I was like, I'd rather invest in like the Jordan Masons and the Tyrion Davis Price, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. Greg, any thoughts on the wide receiver position?
Oh yeah, it doesn't end at Garrett Wilson, but it starts with Garrett Wilson. He's definitely the number one wide receiver pickup. I think waiver target of the week. 23% rostered, got the high target share. And he's just a great talent. So him and Elijah Moore, especially when Zach Wilson is getting closer and closer, I think that will open up the offense even more for both of them and him specifically. So I like him there at that spot. After that, Corey Davis, got that deep touchdown towards the end. But I think he's a deeper league play, and that he's 14% rostered. That could be helpful for teams and gives a safe floor for PPR value. Noah Brown continues to show some light of some help. He's 2% rostered. I mean, I think he's probably could give you maybe another week of something. Michael Gallup is close. There's some reports that he could possibly come back this week against the Giants, but we'll see. So I will keep an eye on that. If you're trying to, Michael Gallup actually is another name though as well that I would know the Noah Brown Michael Gallup combo. If Michael Gallup is back though, I'd probably lean towards him just because he's been in this offense with Cooper Rush before. He's the more talented player in my opinion. And then after that, the two Patriots receivers, Jacoby Myers and Nelson Aguilar, were able to put up some numbers. I think looks like not Hunter Henry. He seemed like he wasn't really on the field. Mac Jones is really going to be only throwing it to two people, and that's going to be Jacoby Myers and Nelson Aguilar. So those guys, if you need some wide receiver depth in deeper leagues, are at play. And then a guy again, Greg Dortch. We're going to keep bringing him up. 7% rostered. He's continuing to show some good play. And while D Hop is out and everything, he's gonna keep showing some great plays. 7% rostered, and he's pretty free out there.
Yeah, definitely like the wide receiver list. How much would you spend in Fab? Like, what percentage of your Fab budget would you spend on a guy like Garrett Wilson? Because you are,
Garrett
I mean,
Wilson.
there's like people out there probably like it's a Jets wide receiver. Like Zach Wilson's gonna come back. Like Elijah Moore is still on that team. Like, what percentage of your Fab would you spend on a guy like Garrett Wilson?
So last week, I spent for $100 budget. I went like 20% for Curtis Samuel. For a type like Garrett Wilson, I go up to probably 15%, close to 20% as well. I think if I was $100 budget, it'd still be like about $15. I think starting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. So like when Justin Jefferson came out, I spent like a solid like 30% of my budget on Justin Jefferson. Like now, again, this is not Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson was also playing with Adam Thielen, so he
Yep.
had competition for
He did have
targets.
comp. Yeah. Yeah.
He I think the Vikings were just so bad that year that they had to throw the football or something like that. I don't really remember what it was. But like I said, Elijah Moore, they're throwing the ball a lot right now, which I don't think that they want to do, especially when Zach Wilson gets back. So I probably
Yeah.
would settle in maybe at like 20, like mid 20% of my budget for Garrett Wilson. Because he is that good to me. He's like that good of a football player in my eyes.
Yeah.
Just from the stuff that he did at Ohio State. And obviously through 2 weeks of NFL action, he has 100 and he had 50 receiving yards last week and he barely played. Right. And then he comes in this week and he's got 102 and his first game starting. So yeah, I'd probably be in that range.
It'll probably be 15 to 20% I put in, and then as the night gets closer to when I'm about to go to sleep, I usually up it up always. So it'll get because you're like, oh, maybe I need to grab him. So yeah.
It's like, oh, Greg's
25.
gonna put. That's how I'm like, oh, Greg's gonna put this bit in. Like, we just spoke about this guy on the podcast. Like, I know. So yeah. What about the tight end position, Greg? What is it looking like there? It's probably rough, but what's it looking like?
Yeah, tight end. I only got two names. I do like Tyler Conklin. I do like what he's doing. He got close to about 9 targets last week, the week before. Yesterday. You like that number for a tight end. You kind of have to read with target share and usage for tight ends. Touchdowns come and go. So I think he's definitely being used. You talk about the passing volume. That might come down a little bit, but he's still going to be involved. And then Evan Ingram, 21% rostered. I think he's also a guy that got a decent target share as well yesterday, and going to be continue to be used with this team in the Jacksonville Jaguars. 8 targets yesterday. I like that number. 7 of 8 too. Good catch rate. So yeah, Evan Ingram and Tyler Conklin, both are guys I'm looking at.
Yeah, I like both those options for sure. Irv Smith is a guy that I know that we had conversations about. For one of our other leagues.
Yeah, if
Like I
you want
said,
to go pick him up tonight before tonight's game, make sure you do that.
could do it. Juwan Johnson's another guy that I obviously talked about before, and think he would definitely, be of some value there. All right, man, that's pretty much all we got tonight. We're gonna
Yes, sir.
close it out. Everyone, we definitely appreciate y'all for for kicking it with us on this Monday night, and we hope you guys maybe. And yeah, we'll catch y'all later. Peace.